else this is going to be a wreck. So.
Just want to test if your clicker works really quick. Okay.
You weren't supposed to see that slide quite yet, but there you go. So anyway, for those who don't know me, my name is Jed Ryder. I run a cow-calf operation up in northwest North Dakota, right between Alexander, North Dakota and Williston. And this is about summer calving. I put summer calving on there. It's actually really more about calving in sync with nature. But some people think calving in sync with nature is in April. So that's why I put summer calving up there. And if it wasn't more than just a calving date, that would be, well, my name's Jed Ryder. I turned my bulls up September 1st and I calved June 10th. Any questions? So anyway, so last calving season, I'm sitting in the house watching TV and watching, I don't know if this was okay, the evening report or whatever, and calving weather. For Saturday, areas of snow, freezing rain, and gusty wind. I think we have a real problem when the Weather Channel is putting what our calving weather is on there. So I just kind of wonder what the deer and the antelope and the elk would think of this slide. So yeah, and so last spring when a bunch of friends of mine were calving, so back up a little bit, I am a mentor on the North Dakota Grazing Lands Coalition. I'm supposed to mentor people, and I had about 4 phone calls, and I never get phone calls from anybody, and it was about calving and about summer calving and my calving date. And so we talked about it quite a bit, and I'm telling you what, the stories that they were telling, and the woe was me, and it was just tough, and we got to change, but how do you change? And so we talked about it for a while, and the phone calls went on, and a couple months later, they were turning their bulls out. And I'm like, well, how do you not turn your bulls out? I'm like, lock the gate. Find a different bull pasture, lock the gate, and don't come back. It's pretty simple. So, mention change. What is so hard about change? You know, and just some questions. When we changed, why we changed, what changes? Why is it more important, or why is it more than just changing your calving date? Why is it so hard to change? I think probably the biggest reason why it's so hard to change something like this, it's social peer pressure more than anything. That's the only thing I can think of is why we would sit and drop our calves in snowbanks, I guess. So, and then fear of failure, I think is a big thing why people don't change. Fear of the unknown, what's going to happen. Which brings me to this. If you don't get anything else from this presentation, write this one down right here. When you change, you will fail. We can't fail in agriculture, in the ranching business, because we can't afford to. So, oh, what else I got? When I started changing my calving date, it was, I went from March 20th, I went to April 15th. That was actually worse. April 15th was actually harder to calve than March 20th. So I moved to, I was calving in April, and when I changed from that, I got influenza type A when I was calving, and the cows just did it. I didn't go out there, and probably lost some and quit tagging, and I was tagging halfway through and I got sick, and then kind of got to thinking, well, geez, they can just do it. They don't need to be tagged. From that point on, I quit tagging. Haven't tagged since. Haven't branded, haven't done anything. April was a mess. I didn't like calving in April. Went to May. Calved in May for a couple years, or 3 or 4 years, I guess. And the trouble with May is everything changes, or the only thing that changes is the calving date. Everything else has to stay the same. You have to feed your animals through the winter and into the spring just as much as if you were calving on the 20th of March. It does not matter. So, May of 2011, April 30th, 24 inches of snow, 80-mile-an-hour winds. My calving date was either the 10th or the 15th of May, and it was by far the biggest wreck I ever had. I was out there letting my stuff do it on their own. I roughed them through the winter, thinking that May 15th was soon enough calving date. Had 33 calves. I think I lost 42 head between the cows and the calves. Next year my calving date went to June 10th. Famous quote by a famous guy. If all you do is change your calving date to be in sync with nature, the only thing you'll end up is smaller calves. That's all it's going to change. So however you're running your cows before for March 20th, and you don't change any of that, and you sell your calves in October as 300-pound calves versus 600-pound calves, it's not going to work out too good. So here's what we do. We turn our bulls out September 1st. That gets us a June 10th calving date. Kind of high energy calving, well, very high energy calving for the cow and the calf, and all that energy is provided by Mother Nature. The calves stay on the mama all winter long. We wean the 1st of April. They learn to graze and to survive. So a couple of us tease about all these EPDs we read about and select for. The only EPD that should matter is the survivability EPD of an animal. So we wean April 1st, and then we run the yearlings, all of them. We might sell off some really, everyone's selling their nicest stuff off, and when we sell stuff off, it's our crap. So we don't have to look at them anymore. And they're not going to do much on grass anyway. So they go, everything else, the heifers and the steers, and at the time of weaning, they're still bulls, and then we band either. It depends. We've banded before we wean, and we band it after we've weaned, and it really doesn't seem like it matters. Brings me to this next slide. Is a question I have for everybody is, how do you see things? It's kind of a weird question, but when you change your calving date, you really either you change because you've changed the way you see things, or you need to change the way you see things. So just a couple pictures here is that's bale grazing residue. You know, is that wasted hay, or am I building my land? You know, that's just two different ways to see things. This is my kid next to probably one of the coolest plants I've ever seen in my life. I had no idea what it was. I've never seen it before. And this field here is a cropland field we turned back to grass this spring. And I saw that thing from our house, and we had to go up and look at it. And laying there, he's my oldest boy, he thought it was a Sorora cactus. So, but it's actually, I had to text the NRCS gal, and she says it's common mullein. It's a noxious weed. Oh, kill it. I'm like, had I not known that, probably be still the coolest plant I've ever seen. But I mean, there's no such thing as a noxious weed on our place. So, but it's stuff like that that can change the way you see things. You understand? So the question is, what has to change, or what do you get to change? So if you change your calving date, inputs go. So did you have to change them, or did you get to change them? Winter feed costs. Same thing, inputs. That's our biggest input, especially up here. Haying. Are you exporting hay, or are you importing hay? What are you doing while you're haying? You know, it's a thought. Are you just haying your cows to feed your cows? Or is there something more to it? Cover crops. This is a tough one. That to me is a huge input on my place. It's just we don't farm, we don't ranch. Cover crops they're really expensive for us. I think in the regeneration of old cropland, to go to grass, I don't think they're bad at all. But you know, it's close to $100 an acre to seed cover crops, and sometimes, I mean, that's expensive pasture up by us. So you know, that's going away. We did it for about 3 years, and we're going to be done. It's going to be all perennial. 4-legged tools or 2-legged tools? This is just a picture of my cows in the wintertime here. My house is right here. So who's the tool? Or excuse me, who or what is the tool? Here, the cattle are still out on the land. That's super, super important that they stay out there. Now, there isn't just this great, big, awesome swath of grass going down that coulee where they're grazing, all right? So I did roll a bale out for them there. So who's the tool there, right? Me. And that has to happen sometimes, I get that. So, what kind of tool do you have? Calving date aside, our livestock are first and foremost a grass and soil building tool, period. I don't care when you calve. So here we got a couple set of tools. One of these things is not like the other. Both of these tools will do the same thing. They will eat grass and they will poop it out. And they will walk on grass and urinate on grass and do the same exact thing. Both of those tools will do this. Who is working for who here? These cows are not getting any hay at this time. Calves are still on the side. Going back to how you see things, is this winter feed? Or is this carbon that needs a rumen? This is just some of the things that I cycle in the winter time. The first picture there is a bunch of hay I bought from the Game and Fish for really cheap. Turned out to be mostly willows and cottonwoods. Or a lot of it was, and I knew it. I mean, down in the bottoms below me, it floods a lot. It's managed by the Game and Fish, and they went down, and a couple of guys went down and you know, to try to keep some hay fields alive down there or not choked out by willows and cottonwoods. They'll go down and cut it and bale it, and I said, what are you going to do with all that hay? Well, we were going to burn it. I said, I'll take it. So I did, and that's what my cows ate all winter. Willows are actually got high in tannins. They're a natural dewormer, so if you ever have the notion to feed some willows, there you go. So the middle picture is wheat regrowth. This picture is a bale grazing site. Those are cattail bales. All these three pictures are super high carbon to nitrogen ratio. They don't have a rumen, they're going to sit there for a long time. Our grasslands need ruminants, period. Whether you're cycling that grass or whether you're importing stuff on the degenerated land, it does not matter. Ruminants have to be out there. Farm ground too. Winter grazing. This was not supposed to happen this way. It's just really weird. Watch it. That's the same animal right there of that. She's the same. I don't know. I'm pretty sure anyway. But what's she doing? She's out there learning. She's out there grazing right alongside of the cattle. I feel like I'm missing all sorts. So both those tools in that slide, both those heifers can also do this. Oh, this is a video. I don't know how to play the video. Huh? 48 days of, Melissa's dad farmed, and Melissa and I went up there in the middle of February, and we polywired up 500 acres, and there wasn't a water tank up there. I had a water tank close. If it got bad, I can get them to water. It never got bad. I never had to. 48 days up there with no water. They actually improved in condition with the calf on their side, and some of my cows actually started cycling while they're up here on this wheat regrowth. I say drinking snow because people say, oh, if they're eating snow, they're not getting no water. Snow's not water. I'm like, well, no, yeah, it is water. I guess I should have played the video while I was talking. How long it takes. I just want you to watch something here. There's a bit of a crust on this, and crust makes people pretty fearful about raising snow in it. You got to be careful because it can come to a point where they cannot eat it anymore. I don't know if you guys can see this very good, but this one cow, she peels up a great big chunk of snow and gets underneath of it and gets the stove that's almost edible. Right here, I think. There you go. What are we talking about here so far? It ain't the calving date, is it? Bale grazing, and I'm still going back to those two tools, those two heifers that you saw on there. Both those heifers can do this. These are cattail bales. This is pretty close to what, they didn't all get like that. There was a few other bales in there, but pretty happy on how they're distributing that carbon down into the ground. Only one of those heifers is going to end up look like this, with a calf in her belly. The other one is going to be on a dinner plate for coyotes, I'm guessing. Probably before I can find her and color myself. So these this was oh, I got the date on here. I thought June 17th. This picture was taken. This cow through the winter will drop to a body condition score of 4, and some maybe less. Probably 4. I'm not very good at telling body condition scores. They go downhill. May 1st, this cow don't look like this. She's still a body condition score of 4. She will fall out, and the calf will fall out. It just won't work. This is why June 10th, actually for us might even be a little bit too early. I've actually had the notion of going back to the 5th of September before I turn bulls out. The amount of grass that has grown between May 20th and June 1st is ridiculous up in our country. So just kind of the cycle of calving here. March 25th, calving time. My cows are still working. My cows are still on vacation. Or my calves are still on vacation. Toasting nice and warm in a 102-degree oven. May 3rd rolls around. Not yet. Now, the weather's nice enough to calve, right? Everyone agree that the weather's nice enough to calve? If anyone's got any questions while I'm doing this, just feel free. Not a whole lot of energy out there. You are still going to buy and feed energy into your animals on the 3rd of May in northwestern North Dakota. May 30th. Kind of mad about it, but getting a few calves. June 10th calving date, you get a few early, and it's pretty normal, right? Just, there's a poly wire running there. We cannot forget, when even if you're calving, your cows are still a tool. No matter what, that comes first and foremost, that your cows are designed to pump energy through your grasslands. If you're calving in March, they're in a corral. You're the tool. They are not. I got a few little baby calves here. June 10th, now we're calving. We're out on Lake Secaucus there. That's the day I start calving. June 27th, still calving. Monty, you know where that point's at? Good, I'm not telling you either. I don't fish all the time. The point of those last 3 slides is leave your cows the hell alone when they're calving. That's the point. All right? So, how we doing, JC?
You're at 11:45. And lunch is in 15 minutes, so you have questions.
I got questions, that's it?
Time. Do you have time for questions or more present?
Give me 5 minutes here and we'll get this over with. I'm not sure what people thought of my fishing picture, so.
I like it.
Big pasture calving. I do have some bigger pastures. I got some, 400 and 500 acre pastures that I really haven't done a whole lot of fencing on. Don't know that I ever will, really. When you're calving baby calves down in the big pasture, and you decide that you want to move them to another pasture, you can lose a whole lot of religion trying to get that accomplished, all right? My suggestion is they're going to be in this pasture and there's going to be some recovery of some grass while they're grazing it, all right? It's just kind of the way it is a little bit in certain landscapes like this. Just have a plan. Make sure that you don't calve there 2 years in a row. Give it rest. That's what's more important than the calving date. But summer calving, it's things like that that kind of scare people off a little bit. And if you decide to do it or are doing it, there's no matter what I tell you, you're going to have your own learning curves that you're going to deal with. So time management is with the big pasture. I already kind of just covered that. All grazing is a function of time, no matter what. Whether you're in a big pasture or a little pasture, it does not matter. It's just I just call it time management. That look, I know I'm maybe not grazing that pasture exactly how it should be, but I'm telling you what, it is a fantastic place for a cow to drop a calf in. We do not have trouble with coyotes. I hear so much trouble people having with coyotes, and I don't know. I think the calves are already dead when the coyotes are eating them, I think, these calves have so much vigor. The cows have so much vigor. I ain't saying I haven't lost a calf or two to a coyote. If I have, well, that mama should have been a better cow, and I'd like to see who she is. Get rid of her, I guess, I don't know. Small pasture calving, like I said, they're still a tool. It's still about the soil. It's about your grasslands. This is some some cropland I turned back to grass about 10 years ago. People have a lot of complaints about calves, like not going through gates, not going through the next pasture, and the calves going back, and they're moving them every day, and it keeps people from managing their herd maybe like they should, because they can't get the calves to do what they want. I got some places with cell centers where it's a water tank with about the wagon wheel kind, My Biggest suggestion is you can use stockmanship. I mean, and it works. It takes some time, and I suggest you do it every once in a while, but sometimes that takes 2 or 3 hours, and people just aren't going to do that. A lot of times the cows go back, right? They come moving through and they go back. Well, big deal. Let the cows, leave the gate open, let the cows go back and get them. A couple hours later, the next day, or if you're doing this 15 miles away, a couple days later, go back and shut the gate. All right. The other thing is, if you have 2-wire fences, 2-wire electric fences, that's a huge problem for calves. Pull out that bottom wire, let that baby calf go into the bottom wire. They'll go through 3 or 4 paddocks to get to where that cow's at. Mother Nature and management. How do we sync and mimic and use Mother Nature? All right. Calving, wintering. I got some stuff to say about this, but I'm running out of time. Grazing, culling, the list goes on and on and on. How we do all these things. It's not just about calving. All I hear is calving in sync with nature, and that's where it stops. I told Jerry I was going to quote him. If you're listening to Jerry Doan speak, he says calving, moving his calving date to where whenever you calve, the end of May or whatever it is, was the #1 most economic beneficial decision that he's ever made, and he is exactly right. There is no bigger waste of time than doing something efficiently that doesn't need to be done at all. Peter Drucker said that. I think that quote is in Alan Nation's book, Melody Ranching. You would be better off being bad at what you do, so you would fail quicker than change. If you're good at something, it's harder to fail, and the agony goes on and on and on and on. We as managers are doers, fixers, control freaks, and conquerors. We need to conquer Mother Nature, right? That's almost our nature. Oh, I wasn't going to put this slide on there. I talked to a few people about it. I'm going to read this to you. This is a scene that most everyone who runs cattle, this was a Facebook post this spring. I'm not mocking this person. I'm not making fun of him. My heart actually kind of goes out to him a little bit. We are perennial optimists. We constantly look for the silver lining and raise our eyes and hope to what might lie ahead. There's a picture of a dead calf right up there. But this has a way of breaking through our next year mentality. It tears at you. It wears on you. It soaks in like used oil spilled on concrete, like arthritis in an old rancher's bones. This winter has all of us scraped bare. We've wellness moistured ourselves till we threaten to choke the life out of the next person who says it. We've pushed through the drifts, broke out the chains and broke down the tractors and pulled on big coats and smashed through the ice and busted out in laughter when we saw the futility of it all. And many of us are about feedlot full of it. It stinks. It stinks like the rotting carcasses of calves that froze nearly instantly in the 35 below nights. It stinks like corrals that have been mucked for 2 months straight. It stinks like the dead cattle that have slipped on frozen ground and couldn't get their legs under them again. It stinks like scours covering the doors of the pickups and the walls of the house entryway. It stinks like bitterness on the tongue of the one who normally speaks encouragement. My message tonight, as the wind blows to nearly 30 miles an hour and the snowflakes fall yet again, is simple. Endure. I will not try to paint roses on frozen hard pan clay. Endure. Grind on. Buy that extra load of hay. Make the extra pen behind the windbreak. Our Savior endured the shame of the cross for the joy set before him, bringing many a wayward sinner such as I to an eternity with him. May we endure this unrelenting winter for the wondrous spring which will come. Look on towards it if you can. If not, just endure. It will end for now. Endure. That was on Facebook. I figured it was free game to put it on there. Like I said, I'm not making fun of this person at all, but what kid that reads that is wanting to be part of agriculture and ranching? Or, I mean, if that's the mentality of the majority of what's going on, you guys. I mean, I can put funny slides of fishing up there all we want in this, but that's the real deal right there. And it's a huge problem. My last question for everyone is, how much knowledge does it take to do nothing? I don't know who said that. I was at the presentation at the National Grazing Lands Coalition down in Texas. this girl was saying that, and I'll tell you what, that's a powerful phrase right there. This, I gotta kind of end this a little bit, but quality of life, that's us skiing. Those are what I think the two-legged tools should be used for. That's it. Any questions? Or did I wreck everyone's life? I'm sorry.
How long do you leave the bulls out? How long is the cattle?
Usually I leave the bulls on there and I never pull them off, and I usually don't have trouble with cows conceiving in October, November. Last year they were on some cover crop. I left the bulls out there, and I actually on this cropland that I've done a couple years of cover crop on, it's going back to grass next year. Yeah, they actually conceived, and I'm calving right now. So that's one way cover crop that also ruined my life.
How steep is your learning curve?
What's that?
How steep is your learning curve?
So yeah, so I'm not. Yeah, they'll be fine. But no, usually if it's 6 days, but I generally don't pull my bulls. They just stay out there and run with the cows all winter, and they just quit cycling with the calves on their side, and the grass and the weather getting the way it is. They just kind of naturally quit. I leave the bulls out there, and the bulls run with the cows all winter. When I wean my calves, I pull the bulls. Sometimes the bulls don't come home. Like if I move them out of one of those bigger pastures, they'll just stay there. And that's their fault, because then they stay there all winter. Yes?
Walk us through the thought process on culling. What's some of the...
On culling?
Culling, yeah.
Well, like when I said up there, culling is also a way to mimic Mother Nature. Your animals are going to be culled no matter what. Whether you cull them, or whether Mother Nature kills them. It's either way. And so Greg Judy talks about being the predator. You got to be the predator. Well, that's how, and so you go out there when you're selecting for your animals that you no longer want in your herd. That's kind of what he means by that. And so, but if you fail, and you will, you're not going to find them all. Mother Nature does, if you're working with her. So, is that what you, or did you have, not what you meant?
Maybe just to sharpen that a little bit, so when you become making those decisions.
What am I looking for? Cows that might die on my program during the winter, whether they got a calf on them or not.
Do you ever look at cows that have smaller calves?
Nope. I won't have any cows left if I did that, Shane.
What I mean is that the calves are not
Like crappie calves, runty calves.
really dinky calves compared to the rest.
No, because I don't tag anything. In fact, probably 2/3 of my cows aren't even tagged. And I can go out there and I've sorted pairs before. Just if I find a pair and just walk them off into a corral. I just don't, I guess. Don't know that I ever will.
Your cows have brands, so no change, no brands.
I do have some cows with no brands, actually, yes. Yes, Deanna.
When they're dry in the spring, or, in the summer, you pull those then?
My dry cows, winter on my place all year. I don't, and then I'll sell them in the summertime. I don't preg check or anything like that, so they'll run the winter. It's pretty cheap to feed a dry cow, especially if you're not feeding them much, like cattails. So I sell them when I'll go out and find them and they're pretty easy to find in July. And that's kind of when the beef market, that's our grass-fed beef market, is our dry cows. So I've got no issues keeping them. If I don't like them, I might, when I call some other stuff, I might get rid of some, but the majority of my dry stuff stays unless they're older. And then if they go to the sale barn, that's pretty much the peak of the hamburger market, and also they're fat and it's cheap. And then it's also our grass-fed beef, so that's how we do that. Had a lot more on there, but I guess it took too long. But
People accuse me of not having anything to do with programming products, nothing to do with surviving.
yeah, well, it's weird. I grew up on an irrigated sugar beet farm, and it's super high intensive. And I grew up with the mentality, if you're not doing something, get your butt in the shop and clean the bolts or whatever. And so, and quite frankly, it's still kind of ingrained in me. And so I almost drive myself crazy sometimes thinking I need to find something to do. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all roses on my place, but all I got to go do is talk to a few other people if I'm feeling bad about my operation. I go home feeling pretty darn good. But I don't feel the need to justify how my cowboy skills anymore, I guess, you know. So and that mindset's still out there. No, what Stan Parsons says, if you want to be a cowboy, go get a job somewhere. You know, and I'm not saying you can't incorporate that on your ranch. We still do. I mean, we still got a horse or two, and I mean, but we don't give shots. We just don't do a whole lot of anything. We just kind of let it work. You can't. It's really hard to kind of do this. You're better off not doing it or just doing it. And there's challenges. We talked about where are they at? Some friends I met last night about open cattle and that right there. So yeah, and I'm like, yeah, no, when you do this, you challenge your cattle too, and you find the ones that can't make it without all the crutches. I mean, the amount of crutches that we give these things, it's just unbelievable. That one heifer up there on the left, that heifer would make it under most operations. You throw a whole bunch of crutches at her, she'll give you some calves. Heck yeah. She don't work on my place. And I told that to the guy that bought that heifer.
How many cows are you running per bull? Like, what do you expect out of your bull? If you're making your cows work this hard, what do you expect out of your bulls?
50 head. It actually went up to 75 this year because I had a bunch of kind of some little trouble. So, no, it's. I would say between 50 and 70. I think the bulls should probably be a little bit older if they're going to try and cover 70 cows. But I think we do have a problem with throwing too many bulls in pasture. I've done it before. I've run my own bulls, and I think I kept like 15 bull calves. I threw them all in there. Didn't care. So, but I don't do that anymore. I don't like keeping that many bulls around.
You raise your own bulls?
I try. Yes, that is my goal, is to raise my own bulls.
You don't have any problem with inbreeding?
I don't think so, Shane. I got a fellow you can talk to more about that later, but I think inbreeding comes in. I don't know if there's such a thing, honestly. The deer, I mean, I don't know if the bucks jump around and It's like, well, hey, where are you breeding this year? Well, hey, where are you breeding this year?
Well, I think it was Johan Eastman that said that inbreeding is a natural part of nature.
Well, I think when you feed in problems into your stuff, like not letting things fall out, having 98% conception rate, and making sure that these animals do not go downhill in the winter time. And if you do not allow for any fallout, I'm guessing you're going to have some trouble. And I think that's where the trouble of inbreeding comes in, where on my place, I don't even know if I think it's gone before I see it. So, need the room to eat?
Sure.
Thank you.